Recorded Books and RB Digital present Falcon by Helen Macdonald, narrated by the author.
Preface to the 2016 edition. You don't have to have read H is for Hawk to read this book. It works entirely on its own, but if you have, there are things in its pages you'll find familiar. The man in one photograph holding a white gerfalcon is my dear friend Erin, who burned a Christmas tree with me on a snowy Maine lawn the winter after my father died. And you'll encounter other things you'll remember here, though they're discussed in finer detail, such as J.A. Baker, T.H. White, Nazi hawks, and the opening scene of the film A Canterbury Tale. Falcon has far more in-depth discussion of the cultural history of falconry and birds of prey across thousands of years, along with musings on anatomy, physiology, hunting strategies, flight mechanics, and conservation philosophy and practice. But at heart, just like H is for Hawk, this book is about how we use nature as a mirror, about how encounters with animals are always to some extent encounters with ourselves and with who we think we are. That unconscious trap is the one I fell into when I trained my goshawk, even after having written this book. That's how invisible and strong it is. How did Falcon come about? Well, back in the early 2000s, I was working on my doctoral dissertation at the University of Cambridge. I never finished it. I wrote this book instead, which was surprising because I considered myself a dedicated academic. I loved my university department, my city. Loved that every morning I could walk through tree-lined streets to one of the world's great libraries and spend the day bathed in a dusty almond and vanilla scent of aged paper, surrounded by piles of journals and books, happily checking references and taking notes on articles and texts while pigeons clattered on the roof tiles above the desks in the north wing. My dissertation was on the history of science. Specifically, it was about the history of natural history and how we relate to the natural world. It was also about how we draw boundaries between things we consider to be science and things we don't. Those borders are more permeable than we generally suppose. Investigating how they are made and policed tells us a lot about the nature of science, about how we approach knowledge, and about ourselves. My lifelong obsession with birds of prey had spurred me to investigate these questions in the context of the cultures that surrounded them in the 20th century: raptor conservation, falconry, amateur natural history, and birding. I thought it would be an ideal PhD topic. It was, but as it turned out, I wasn't an ideal PhD student. As part of my dissertation research, I spent several months in the archives of falconry at the World Centre for Birds of Prey in Idaho. The archives hold everything from medieval manuscript letters to modern first editions, from sealskin
Sample complete. Ready to continue?